Hey everyone, so this is a call, and what I want to talk about in this video is I'm going to talk about the relationship between the root, we could say the root chakra if you wish, the pineal gland, and, well, which then I would associate with the crown chakra, and the astral. But before I get into that, I want you to, I'm going to draw your awareness to down below the video. Down below the video, you're going to see two links. One link is for my website for those individuals out there who are interested in some help with their sexual energy. It's feeling a little out of balance. You're maybe having some issues of porn. Whatever it is, I'm here to help. You can reach out. You can go to my website. You'll find my email. You can contact me through that. Also, hopefully within a couple weeks, I'm going to have a new sexual energy coaching program available, which is going to be video-based. It's going to be very inexpensive. There will be nothing out there that I've ever seen that's going to be so thorough and so profound for such an inexpensive price. So you can watch out for that. And also down below the video for completely free, you can find my free PDF called The Formula. The Formula is for those individuals out there who are interested in sacred sexual practices. If you're interested in kind of learning how to design a sacred sexual practice, or you need some guidelines in terms of like how you should be handling your own sexual energy, your own diet, etc., etc., you can go ahead and check that out. It's completely free. So hopefully you enjoy. Also down below the video, push subscribe and thumbs up button. Thank you. All right, now getting into the video. First thing I want to start this off with, I want to kind of go into Pisces first. Why do I want to go into Pisces relative to, relative to this idea of the astral, the pineal gland and the root? Well, one is Pisces, astrologically speaking, is this sort of, energetically speaking, I'm not saying all Pisces people are like that. I need to first put that out front. So when I'm using the word Pisces, I'm referring to anyone who has these energies in your chart. So that could be your sun, it could be your moon, it could be your rising, it could be, prominent planets in general. So we could say Jupiter, Mercury, etc., right? So if you got a lot of Pisces energy, there's going to be some of these proclivities available to you. So, but Pisces is this sort of, it's ruled by Neptune. Historically speaking, and I guess if you're in Vedic astrology, you say it's ruled by Jupiter. But I'm going to speak from the perspective of Neptune, just because it's a more modern interpretation. So Neptune is it's kind of an energy of illusion, but also of spirituality, right? So they're the very, very fine line here, because what we end up realizing through a spiritual path is, well, many of us start to realize through a spiritual path, is that a spiritual path often requires that we have faith. We have faith that we're opening up to something that seems relatively invisible, right? Meaning that our physical senses kind of don't quite connect us there, right? So in other words, if you're an objectivist who says if you can't touch it, feel it, see it, then it doesn't exist, then spirituality is probably not the path for you. The reality is when we start to kind of connect to something, let's say on a more subtle energy level, let's use the word God, okay? I'm going to use the word God, G.O.D, God, generate, organize, and destroy. What is that? I'm not a huge fan of gods in general. Gods are often representations of things that we experience in everyday life, and also much more subtle realities or other dimensional realities, etc. But G.O.D underlies everything, right? And I'm not speaking in a sort of monotheistic kind of sense here. I'm speaking everything, all reality as we know it, all reality as we don't know it, perhaps even, underlies this same pattern of generative. It means it comes into reality, into existence. It has a lifespan of some sort, and then it dies and is destroyed, and then it just simply cycles through. It's a spin, basically. It's a rotation or a spin or a loop. And so that's something that you can kind of like calibrate too. But when you start to realize that this underlies everything, again, I'll speak for myself. when I started to realize that underlying everything was this particular pattern, I started to open myself up to sort of much deeper experiences. So I'm going to bring the word faith in here, right? So faith is this idea, it's a very, very Piscean word here. Faith is this idea that on some level, we all know we're being guided, right? Because we have this life force that's moving through us, that's pressurizing us from point A to point B, from birth to death, right? And so as we're being pressurized towards death and we're living this life, which is the O, the organized aspect of G.O.D, right? As we're moving towards death, what ends up happening is that we're hoping to calibrate our life so that it's good for our energy, it's correct for our energy, right? But that's really what this is. The entire form here has all the energy for life within it. So the idea that we're trying to access or find something outside of ourselves is a little bit foolish. We have our instincts and our intuition, which are guiding us, but it requires us to disconnect from logic. Not disconnect, to recognize, I should say, that logic, reason, and our sensory system are simply tools. But it's the intuition, it's the deeper knowing that connects us to our life force. And that life force wants to be directed towards what's authentic or correct for each individual. So now going back to Pisces. Pisces as an energy being ruled by Neptune, Neptune will end up sidetracking Pisces through the realm of sort of imagination, of dreaminess, of dissolution and mystical thinking and all this kind of stuff. So in other words, sometimes there's a difficulty with practicality. So in other words, you can have creative ideas and you can have dreamy things, but how do you ground it into action? And so that's the Pisces conundrum. The function of Neptune is to dissolve boundaries. So dissolving boundaries can mean a lot of different things, but specifically within this context of, once again, we're going to talk about the crown and the root in the astral. The dissolving of boundaries has to do with the dissolving of boundaries between the material and the spiritual. And this is Pisces' big challenge, is that they need to learn to discern what's escapism or getting lost in illusion versus true spiritual vision, which comes through grounded astral clarity. So I'm just going to kind of set that up there, that again, Pisces is this energy that represents that. So now going back here into the sort of crux of things here, let me go ahead and describe verbally what the astral is. Okay, so the astral is kind of a sheath, and it's sort of a mystical sheath that we kind of are always going in and out of all the time, every single one of us, not just Pisces. As we go in and out of this sheath, either we're doing it consciously or unconsciously. We're either in dream states, or we're in lucid dreaming states, right? So the astral is first experienced through ordinary dreaming. And then eventually we learn to sort of lucid dream, and then we can kind of enter in and out of it. Now, other ways in which we can kind of experience or go into the astral would be through meditation, through breath work, inducing trance states. And it can be kind of felt as like leaving the body. This is when you're doing it consciously, floating, or, again, just perceiving very, very subtle realms. Just anecdotally, when my third eye is concentrated and on, meaning my pineal gland is clicked on and I'm grounded and I'm rooted. Both things need to be happening at the same time. I often will perceive this light. And what I've realized about the light that we perceive, and some of you out there who can perceive light, this is going to be interesting for you. So I would suggest taking a moment and pausing after I say this. The light which surrounds you, the light which you perceive within yourself, is dispersed. With your mind, you can concentrate this light and condense it. And if you stay focused or concentrated on that light, sometimes or often, it will differentiate into vision. Through this process, I've been pulled through what felt like vortexes into sort of other dimensional realities. And it's through my sort of inner eye window or through the lens which the pineal gland provides that I can perceive these other realities. But again, it only happens when there's grounding, the body is taken care of, I feel safe and secure, and the light is present, right? So those things need to be present in order for these things to work. But keep in mind, like for instance, if you're an energy worker and you want to move light inside of somebody, you concentrate it with your mind. You can concentrate that light into a ball and you can move it and shift it around. And so again, playing with these visionary states are something that all of us can do, but oftentimes we don't realize we can. Because maybe we don't have faith in what we're perceiving as real. Again, there's that word faith, right? So faith that our intuition is leading us, faith in that the light we're perceiving is something significant and not just activity of our nervous system, all right? Because the reality is the pineal gland is a bioluminescent gland. It sits at the center of the head, and this bioluminescent gland, just like the deep sea jellyfish that blink, that gland at the center of our head is also like a bioluminescent blinking gland. So I'm not going to go too much far down that rabbit hole. I'm just throwing that out there. Let's see what else. So some things you might experience once you start to sort of access the astral. Like I said before, for me, it was feeling of being kind of like pulled through like a vortex of sorts. I've also felt vibrations. I've had popping inside of my head. I've had what feels like sometimes like one of my ears will like pop and clear and the other one will pop and clear. I've had cracks inside of my head, buzzing, sensations rising within the body or like within the body and then getting pulled out of the body, seeing silver or golden threads. The silver thread is a reference to the silver thread that's at the center of the spinal cord, right, which is our body's center channel. And this center channel is often perceived as a bluish or a silverish kind of thread. Now, the golden thread is the sort of third eye to pineal gland thread. And this is how we enter through into the astral realms, right? So you can see now I'm starting to build the relationship between the root and the pineal gland. These two threads have to meet. There's a space in between, which is the void. And I believe in Kabbalah, they call that Dahat, D-A-A-T, Dahat. The void in between is kind of, well, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but this is like a lot of trials and tribulations end up happening. We end up having to sort of speak our truth. We end up having to manifest the correct things in life before these threads can all kind of be connected and linked. But all this is done in a lot of ways through the various, well, specifically through the silver thread as it's related to the body. This is one of the ways in which we increase our inner energetic spiritual pressure. All right, so let's talk about that root a little bit more. So the root, another reason that it's incredibly important and why it's linked to the pineal gland in the astral has to do with the fact that it's how we ground into the material reality. And we're here to sort of have a balanced existence between the physical reality and the energetic reality, which we have access to. Otherwise, we become imbalanced. So we need to have, we need to feel grounded. So how do we feel grounded? Well, there's 3 different ways that we can feel grounded. One is the overarching theme here is that we need to feel secure, right? Secure in various aspects of life. So the first level of grounding is, are you paying your bills? Are you taking care of your family? Basic things. Second level of grounding is, are you connected to your body, or is your relationship with your body quite poor? Are you exercising? Are you eating right? Et cetera, et cetera. All these things change the internal spiritual pressure. Again, this is all about hydraulics. We're creating hydraulics or an internal spiritual pressure so that we can awaken these higher glands, specifically this third eye to pineal gland area, which is this golden thread. And finally, are you physically connected to the planet itself? Bottoms of your feet, 2 points called the bubbling springs. You can look it up, Chinese medicine. These are the areas where electrons from the surface of the planet will percolate up through your feet. This is essential. You need to feel connected to the world which we exist on. Remember, we're on a planet. We are part of nature, and we should be connected to that planet because we are animals. And animals do not walk around with rubber on their feet all the time. Just saying. So, once we get that root sort of in a more secure place, we start to change our dietary patterns. We start to utilize the body in a sort of more sort of healthful way. We start to access our intuition, which then links us to our core, our power. It helps us direct our energy to what's authentic for us to be expressing in this life. All these things start to create a harmony within us, a place of peace within us that allows us to then go into much more deeper grounded meditation, which then allows us to access the visionary states consciously. So that is in essence how you clarify the silver thread of vitality. Okay, so let's see what else I want to bring up here. Let's talk about the science here really quickly. So where is the pineal gland located? So the pineal gland basically is located at the center of the brain. You can think about right above the roof of the mouth. If you relax the roof of your mouth at the very center of the brain, you're going to notice this is basically it's a space. There's not a lot of, it's more of a liquidy space, right? So it's liquid and it's glandular. So in other words, it's not like the prefrontal cortex where you have all this electrical activity going on. So in order to, and this is what my Kundalini Yoga teachers told me 20 years ago when I was very curious about the Ajna Chakra, or the third eye, and accessing visionary states, and specifically turning on the pineal gland, is they told me, oh, you just place your awareness there. Which kind of makes sense. Energy flows to where the attention goes. That's a pretty important concept, and well, it is in my opinion, the most important concept in spiritual thinking. Energy flows to where the attention goes. So if you place your awareness on the space where the pineal gland lies, then in theory it should draw energy to that place, which then helps activate it and to turn it on, and then to once again create that internal bioluminescence, which will then allow you to access visionary states. So some of the hormones you also will be playing with along the way. Melatonin, which is there to help regulate circadian rhythms and is responsible for dream states. Pinealine, P-I-N-O-L-I-N-E, and DMT, both of which I don't know how true this is or not, are both connected to visionary and astral states. And then finally, from the last little bit of science I'm going to bring up has to do with the number of breaths per minute, and how when you reduce the number of breaths per minute, it increases your vagal tone, which refers to the vagus nerve. It also will help kind of create some additional sort of vasodilation. It'll help the body go into the parasympathetic branch of the nervous system, which is the rest and digest branch. So in other words, I'm going to go ahead and get into the practices here. So from reducing the number of breaths per minute, you're then going to start to bring the pituitary and the pineal gland into states in which they can start to excrete what is needed for you to enter into visionary states. Something else which you can do as a practice, I mentioned earlier what I call chronic practices, which are, dietary change, learning to work with your intuition, things of that nature. Those are more kind of like chronic things you need to do a lot over time, right? So calibrating to authentic energetic expression in life, et cetera, et cetera. So in terms of acute practices or practices you can do during your sort of your sadhana or your daily yoga practice or whatever, is you can hold root lock. So you can apply root lock or mula bandha. So you contract the anus, the perineum, the genitals, and you just maintain that hold. Then you can shift your focus to the various crown points. I'm only going to talk about two of the primary crown points, but keep in mind why this works. Energy flows to where the attention goes. So if you have your root held and your awareness split along your crown, then what you're going to do is you're going to be moving the energy in a balanced way between these 2 points. The 2 points specifically relative to the crowns, you have the anterior fontanelle towards the front and the posterior fontanelle towards the back, which is right where the hair swirls at the top of the head. These 2 points you can kind of focus on. One of them may feel stronger than the other. 2 other points you can work with along the head is you have the third eye point. I don't get great results there. I can meditate on this point and it gets heavy, it starts to feel like a rock or a brick is sitting there. I get all these manifestations, but it doesn't really seem to help a whole lot. However, when my pineal gland turns on, I can then project my awareness in that direction. However, what I find works better, again, keeping in mind what we're working with here is what's called the microcosmic orbit, meaning we're moving our awareness up the spine and down the front of the body. So we're creating this circular pattern. If you place your awareness at the back of the head, what it'll start to do is it'll, the medulla back here, it'll start to then draw the energy upward as well. Just maybe not as quite as intense or profound as the 2 crown points. But again, you have to keep in mind, are you ready to have your crown opening up and to start experiencing all these sort of visionary states? You might be, you might not. That's up to you to decide. But keep in mind, root lock, crown point meditation, or meditation at the medulla will start to pull that energy up as well. Candle gazing. Candle gazing also, can help you sort of pull the energy up. I've also found it, if you gaze at a candle, let's say 11 minutes, we'll come up with a hypothetical time. So keep the candle at the eye level, you're gazing at the flame, you gaze for 11 minutes, then you blow out the candle so it's dark in the room, you close your eyes, and you stay with the inner light. That inner light will start to differentiate at some point, but you have to keep your concentration on that light. Again, we have dispersed light all around us, and we can choose, again, when I mean dispersed light all around us, all around your energy is your energy body, right? We are constantly surrounded by prana or life force. We can concentrate that energy, we can condense it. So if I tell you 6 inches out in front of your forehead, I would like you to perceive a small sphere, 2 inches wide, 2 inches tall, silver or white in color. And if you do that, if you concentrate on that little white ball of light, you will start to see it, and then you can move it into the center of your head. You can do all sorts of things with this little ball of light, but if you concentrate on that light long enough, and again, if you do this after candle gazing, it may start to form into kind of a vortex or a portal or a way in which you can start to navigate the astral. So that's how you can use candle gazing. Breath retentions are incredibly important. One is, like I mentioned before, if you're doing breath retentions, retaining the breath in while maintaining pull on the diaphragm and maintaining the breath out, which then allows you to connect to your true nature, your sat nam, your presence. Then what ends up happening is that you start to clarify your relationship, your ego's relationship with your inner being. Breath retention in helps increase concentration and focus. Breath retention out connects you to, like I said before, your sat nam, your true name. Now, also, breath retentions help you reduce the number of breaths per minute, which then, like I said before, will help you calibrate the functioning of the pineal and the pituitary gland. All right. Final thing I want to bring up, which might help you sort of work with the glands, is at the center of the head, there's a star. I like to think of it as a cross. But if you go temple to temple, and then brow point to the notch on the back of the head, and you meet at the middle, right? So temple to temple, point to point, it creates a cross. At the center of that cross is approximately where the pineal gland lies. If you concentrate on that point, this is the inner star that you're going to see, the inner light you're going to see. It's not always easy to concentrate on that space because many of us can't seem to find it. So one of the ways we can help locate that space is by making the sound O-N-G. Om. You're going to notice when you do O-N-G, not O-M, O-M, Om. Om is kind of more out here. I don't quite feel it in the same way. O-N-G is specifically meant to resonate the nasal cavity. So when you do that, it's going to draw you to where those glands are sitting, the pituitary and the pineal specifically. So, and it will stimulate and vibrate that. So keep in mind, you want to practice ONG and not OM if you're interested in finding that space above the roof of the mouth, at the center of the head, which is where all the sort of magic is going to happen. So let's see if there's any other little details I want to kind of go over here. Oh yeah. So just a real fine, to summarize, I want to talk about the sort of kind of the implications. Excuse me, my legs are cramping. So some of the implications of working in the astral. I'm going to go over a few positives and a few negatives. So on the positive side, expanded awareness of multidimensional realities. Why is this positive? Well, this is positive because of a truth. I don't remember if it was Einstein who said this or whoever it was some genius from the past, basically said that there's more that we do not understand about reality than what we do. That was the essence of what he said. That is, do not quote me on that. There's more that we do not understand than what we do, meaning that science is never settled. So if you hear any politician or anyone out there ever say science is settled, do not listen to them. Science is never settled. All right, so that's one. The expanded awareness of multidimensional reality, what it does is when you can enter into the sort of astral realm, you start to enter into sort of these other layers that do exist, other aspects of this incredibly expansive universe that do exist, and we can navigate them. And the reason is this understanding will help you go into multidimensional reality, which is that time and space are part of the material, I won't use the word illusion, they're part of the material reality we live in. In other words, the separation that you and I might feel if we were, let's say, 5 feet from each other. The reality is that although we may be 5 feet from one another, I can actually access your energy because I understand that the time and the space between us actually does not exist. I can kind of play with people's energy from very, very far away. I have a friend who lives in Turkey. I do energy work on her every so often. And she tells me exactly what I did after I do it. It's quite interesting. And it took me a long time to understand how is it for me from Chicago, Illinois, and able to work on my friend in Turkey. Well, the reality is because the space between her and I, because I feel connected to this person, is actually, in essence, the space disappears when I go into sort of this kind of energy work or this understanding, okay? And this is part of how we kind of engage through the astral. Long distance Reiki is kind of working in the astral, all right? You can correct me if I'm wrong about that, those of you Reiki practitioners out there. Let's see, another positive aspect here is encounters with guides, archetypes, and ancestors. This is interesting. You can access your ancestors, your guides, angels. I grew up in a Christian tradition, so we talked a lot about archangels and angels and things like that. The thing is that those guides can be helpful, but they're not the point. The point is that we access a broader understanding here, right? A broader understanding is that I had to learn early on that when I don't always know what energies are coming through when I'm playing in the astral. If I'm asking for guidance, I don't always know what's coming through. So I've learned that I have to calibrate to source, right? Or God, right? So what is God? God, as I'm going to explain it, is G.O.D, generate, organize, destroy. Again, this is the path from birth to death. This is the overarching pattern of all creation. So I've learned to just connect to source or God, and then I'll be guided because my energy, my life force, which is moving through me 100% of the time from point A to point B, from birth to death, that energy, that life force is always guiding me. I just have to pay attention to how it's guiding me through my intuition. So the guides, the angels, should help you connect to your intuition. should help you connect deeper to yourself. If they're getting you to connect to something outside of yourself, be cautious. Just saying. All right, so something else that comes along the way, creative inspiration. You may receive more downloads as you're going through these, the ability to sort of access the astral and sort of balancing out the body and the glandulars and everything else that's going on within you in a grounded manner. You're going to start to receive more downloads, more sort of creative guidance along the way. And then finally, one of the other positive things has to do with reduced fear of death. I know personally, as I started doing more and more of these practices, I started to feel, I guess, more at ease in my own body, more comfortable on the planet, and more comfortable with the idea that death was inevitable. So, and I also think that, like Yogi Bhajan said, meditation in a lot of ways is simply preparation for death, right? We're learning to let go. And that is kind of what the essence of meditation is. So on the negative side of playing around with the astral is disassociation with the physical life, or the desire to kind of check out. Those of you who are prone to being very, very dreamy, very, very spaced out kind of individuals, those of you who like to watch cartoons and movies and to escape into video games or virtual reality, like these are all going to be very, very prominent themes in our future collectively as humanity. But even for those of us who are spiritually focused and who are meditators and things like that, there's also this desire to just sort of like kind of disappear into like dreamlike states all the time. I know that was an issue for me until I started to realize, oh, I need to ground this, right? So the real integration here is that, and I'm gonna repeat this twice. Voluntary astral access allows a man to integrate wisdom, but the power comes from grounding vision into action. The voluntary astral access allows a man to integrate wisdom, but the power comes from grounding vision into action. So in other words, anything you receive along your sort of journey and playing in the ethers, you need to be able to put that into action and make it practical, right? We're here to exist as energy and material, as a particle or a wave. Just saying. We are both things and all things all at the same time. So something else that kind of happens is, this is kind of what I just referenced a little bit, which is the idea of spiritual bypassing, meaning I'm all into like the sort of woo-woo, but the physical reality, the embodied growth that I'm supposed to be experiencing in this life gets a secondary treatment, right? So you need to make sure that again, you're balancing your sort of spiritual journeys with actual physical groundedness, taking care of the things that need to get taken care of in your life. Then finally, the other negative aspect that might come along is potential sleep disruption. If you start playing around in lucid dreaming and things like that in excess, you may start to prefer the lucid reality. And so, in other words, you can end up playing a lot. Let me summarize this a little bit better. I always feel that if I'm dreaming, I'm not sleeping. Okay? So if I'm in a visionary state when I should be sleeping, I don't usually get very good sleep. So just saying. All right, let me think that if there's any other things that I want to kind of cover here. If there's anything I've missed in this video that you feel like I should have covered, do say so below the video. But otherwise, I think I've covered all the kind of details I wanted to go over. So with all that said, hopefully you've enjoyed this video and you've kind of glommed on to some interesting facts and you kind of have a good takeaway. So with all that said, once again, please subscribe, click the up button, the thumbs up, and thank you much.